There are moments in life when the ground shifts beneath your feet, not because of an earthquake, not because of bad luck, but because someone you trusted looked you in the eye, smiled, and then reached into your chest and stole the very thing you'd poured your soul into. That's exactly what happened to Maya Chen. And what she did about it? That's the story you need to hear today. Maya had spent 3 years building her idea from nothing. 3 years of late nights, cold coffee, and conversations with herself in a one-bedroom apartment in Portland, Oregon. She wasn't a trust fund kid. She wasn't connected. She was a 29-year-old former marketing analyst who had watched corporate America squeeze the creativity out of every room she'd ever sat in, and she had decided, quietly, determinedly, that she was done with that. She was going to build something of her own. The idea was a subscription platform called Thread Local, a curated marketplace connecting independent textile artists with interior designers and boutique hotels. It sounds simple now, but in the early days, Maya was the only person who could see it clearly. She had done the market research herself, drafted the financial model on a spreadsheet that lived on a beat-up laptop, and built the first version of the site using YouTube tutorials and sheer stubbornness. She even had her first 12 paying clients. It wasn't glamorous, but it was hers. That's when she met Diane Holloway. Diane was everything Maya wasn't, at least on the surface. Polished, well-connected, with a LinkedIn profile full of board memberships and keynote speaking credits. They met at a small business networking event in downtown Portland, the kind with warm white wine and name tags that curl at the edges. Diane had approached Maya first. She'd asked smart questions, laughed at the right moments, and by the end of the evening, she had suggested they meet for coffee to explore whether their businesses could complement each other. Diane ran a corporate gifting consultancy. Maya thought the overlap was obvious and promising. The coffee meetings became weekly lunches, then strategy sessions. Diane was generous with her time and her contacts, and Maya, who had been grinding in isolation for years, found herself finally feeling seen, feeling like she had a partner in the journey, even an informal one. She made a mistake that many brilliant, hardworking people make. She confused warmth with loyalty. Over the course of 6 months, Maya shared everything: her pitch deck, her client acquisition strategy, her proprietary data on which artist categories were most underserved in the market. She even walked Diane through her supplier agreements and the pricing model she'd spent weeks refining. None of it was under NDA because, in Maya's mind, this was a friendship, a mentorship even. She never once considered that Diane was conducting due diligence on a competitor she hadn't launched yet. The first sign came on a Tuesday morning in October. Maya was scrolling through a design industry newsletter when she saw it. A product announcement, clean and professional, with a logo she didn't recognize. Artisan Layer. A curated platform connecting textile artists with interior designers and boutique hotels. The language was almost identical to her own pitch deck. The target market was a perfect mirror image. Maya sat very still for a very long time. She clicked through to the About page, and there, listed as founder and CEO, was Diane Holloway. The betrayal didn't hit Maya all at once. It came in waves. First, disbelief, then a nauseating kind of recognition as she scrolled through the site and found detail after detail that could only have come from her. The artist category breakdown, the tiered subscription structure, even a throwaway line about boutique hotels in the Pacific Northwest that she had spoken out loud at lunch one afternoon while Diane had nodded and refilled her water glass. Maya could have cried. She could have called Diane and screamed. Instead, she did something smarter. She went quiet. While Diane was busy launching her investor roadshow and posting about disrupting the artisan economy on LinkedIn, Maya was documenting everything. She went back through every email, every text message, every shared document. She found a thread from 8 months earlier in which she had sent Diane her full business overview. Time-stamped, detailed, unmistakably original. She found a follow-up where Diane had replied with enthusiastic questions that, in hindsight, were the questions of someone building a competitor, not a collaborator. Maya also discovered through a mutual contact that Diane had quietly incorporated Artisan Layer just 3 weeks after that email exchange. She hired an intellectual property attorney named Rebecca Strauss, a small but formidable woman who specialized in exactly this kind of case and who, upon reviewing Maya's documentation, told her with barely contained satisfaction that this was one of the cleaner cases of trade secret misappropriation she'd seen in years. Maya didn't have a formal NDA, but she had something arguably more powerful. A paper trail that showed confidential business information shared in the context of an implied confidential relationship, then directly replicated in a competing venture. Oregon law was very much on her side. The legal letter landed on Diane's desk on a Wednesday morning, 6 days before Artisan Layer's official launch event, an event Diane had been promoting heavily across her entire professional network. The timing was not accidental. Maya and Rebecca had chosen it deliberately. They wanted Diane to feel exactly what Maya had felt, the ground shifting without warning. Diane's attorney responded with the predictable denials. Diane herself called Maya twice, calls Maya let go to voicemail, and immediately forwarded to Rebecca. In the second message, Diane's polished composure had cracked just enough to reveal something genuine underneath. She sounded frightened. That was new. The case never went to full trial. It didn't need to. As discovery proceedings began and Diane's investors started asking uncomfortable questions, the pressure became untenable. Several of those investors quietly withdrew. The launch event was postponed, then canceled. Within 4 months of Maya filing suit, Diane's legal team came to the table with a settlement offer. Maya received a confidential financial settlement that covered her legal fees 3 times over and provided operating capital for the next phase of ThreadLocal's growth. Artisan Layer was required to cease operations entirely and transfer its domain, which Diane had optimized for SEO using Maya's own keyword strategy, to a neutral party. Maya didn't take the domain. She didn't need it. What she needed and what she got was validation. Not the public kind. The settlement was sealed, and Maya never named Diane publicly, though she was careful never to deny anything when people in the industry began to connect the dots themselves. The validation was internal. It was the knowledge that she had built something real enough to steal, something someone with Diane's resources had looked at and thought, I want that, and Maya had protected it. ThreadLocal launched its second phase 8 months after the settlement. Within a year, it had signed partnerships with 3 regional hotel chains and been featured in 2 design publications. Maya hired her first 2 employees, both women, both early in their careers, and she made sure, on their first day, to explain clearly and warmly why every collaboration in the company would be governed by a clear, fair, and mutual agreement. Not because she expected betrayal, she told them, but because clarity is what respect looks like in business. She never spoke to Diane again. She didn't need to do that either. There's something people often say about betrayal, that the worst part is losing trust in others. But Maya would tell you the worst part is the moment you realize that someone who smiled at you across a lunch table had already decided you were a resource to be extracted, not a person to be known. That's the wound that takes the longest to heal. What pulls you through it isn't bitterness. It isn't even justice, as satisfying as that is. It's the work. It's coming back to your idea, the one they tried to take, and building it anyway, louder and stronger than you had planned. It's waking up one day and realizing that the person who stole from you has, in a darkly generous way, handed you something you didn't know you needed. Absolute proof that what you made was worth something. Maya knew her idea was good. She just needed Diane to confirm it.